Welcome to the For Real Though Show, the podcast for the people with the purpose for the people. Yo, what up? Host Christopher Keith here. As you know, we are brought to you by Queso only the best quesos in the Midwest, possibly in the world. We'll get to that later. But anyway, hey, hope all is well with you guys. Enjoying this new year, 2024. Seemed like a lot of beefs going on in 2024, man. Started off a lot of internet beefs, Cat Williams and whatnot. Yo, but hopefully that's out of the way. We don't need too many more beefs. But anyway, so I was having a conversation with my sister the other day. She gave me a call and she was like, "Yo, how you doing?" And most of the time when we talk about these things, when people say, "How you doing?" You just go, "I'm good," you're fine, whatever, right? Uh, and this time I wasn't feeling great. As a matter of fact, I was really kind of down. And normally I wouldn't explain, I wouldn't go into that because nobody wants to hear that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel too good actually. Normally people don't want to hear it, but I knew I was in a safe space talking to my sister. And so, I just told her, I was like, kind of been in a funk the last couple of weeks, kind of, in a little bit of a transition, if you will, you know. And like I said, normally I wouldn't say nothing, but I knew I could. And in addition to that, what I did was I explained to her like how I get into this place sometimes. And I wonder if you ever get into a place where you're feeling low, uh, maybe a little pressed, spiritually, mentally, and you want to talk to somebody, but you can't find nobody, right? So there have been times where I was down, um, man, feeling some type of way. And then I call my boy, he ain't around. I call my other boy, he ain't around. I had a couple female friends I might call, they ain't around. I call my mama, she ain't around. I call my sister, goes to voicemail. And then you just don't end up talking to nobody. And so that used to happen to me years ago, and I get frustrated. Now, the few times that it does happen, I just kind of laugh and chuckle about it because I know that that means I wasn't supposed to be able to talk to anybody. This was something I needed to deal with on my own. And there are times, when you got to deal with stuff on your own. So I was explaining that to her. And, it was cool. She understood. And from there, we kind of got into this larger conversation about yeah, kind of. I could almost assess to a degree how I get into these places because I'm an empath. Okay, I'm an empathetic person, and as an empath, as a nerd, if you will, I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of studying. Do a lot of research on stuff. I'm always into stuff, into growth, uh, and so as a, I guess just as my personality, um, I've always been the guy that other people have gone to, when it comes to advice, uh, shoulder to, lean on, somebody to talk to run stuff off of, get advice from, sometimes just to have an open ear, without judgment. So I've always been that guy. And it's a good thing for me because it's actually what I really enjoy doing. I enjoy uh, talking to people, helping people, ministering to people, if you will, on my own kind of way, Um, and that's really just to be there. So I get a lot of joy out of that. I get a lot of fulfillment out of that. I love seeing people get from A to B. That's kind of my thing. Well, actually, it's really my thing. Even if I could be training a referee or something, or an umpire in baseball, and to see the person get from you know, point A to point B, or from where they started to where they want to go, or at least on their way to where they want to go, and to see a little encouragement and stuff in them, that really brings me joy. Same thing, I got friends, and like I said, when they talk to me about this stuff and I can hear them out and provide encouragement, strength, uh, just the just a way to see into that there is a way out, that you know this issue, the issue they're going through is temporary. Uh, that they're going to come out on the other side of it. Things that we all go through all the time. It's just life, right? So that's my thing. And so in getting to know that, I had to start doing a little research on being an empath. What is an empath? Uh, and so I looked up, got a little definition here that I got off the internet, because the internet knows everything, and it's got to be true if it's on the internet. Well, anyway, I think this is pretty accurate. It says an empath is a person highly attuned to the feelings and emotions of those around them. Empaths feel what another person feel. I'm sorry, let me go back. Empaths feel what another person is feeling at a deep emotional level, combined with the primary motivation. So here are some uh here's some pros and cons to being an empath. Okay, so again, empath highly attuned to people's feelings, emotions around them. Well, yep, that's a gift. That's a gift. I'm not going to call it a gift and a curse. It's a gift that I can, I can pick up on stuff with people. I got a real, I got a real old meter. I got a few old meters. You know what I mean? When it comes to people. And anyway, so uh, pros and cons of being an empath. Pros: a good listener. I am a good listener. I know how to listen without and resist the urge to answer. Oftentimes, I talk to my friends, and they may be telling me something, or one of my kids, and I'll just listen. And then, I'll be quiet. And if they get quiet, I may say something like, okay, I heard you. Did you want me to say something? Respond? Or did you want to, have me just hear you out? Because people don't always want a response. They don't always need a response. Sometimes people just want to be heard, validated, respected. And, just the listening part is respect. You know what I mean? And validation enough, as long as you don't say nothing to um, discourage that validation or invalidate that person's feelings. I know sometimes people be like, oh, you shouldn't be upset about that. A lot of times people try to pep you up, oh no, you only the strong survive, what don't kill you makes you stronger and all this other kind of stuff, you know, or like if there's a death in the family, or they went on to be in a better place, all those things. And sometimes, man, people don't want to hear all of that. You know what I mean? Sometimes they just want you to hear them. I'm hurting. I miss my loved one. I'm really depressed today. Uh, my marriage is crumbling. Really going through some issues with my career. I'm lonely. Whatever the case may be. Sometimes people just want someone to listen, and I'm really good at that. And although it used to be, because I'm a guy, and guys like to fix stuff, I'm not really immune to that. I do like to fix stuff. I'm no different than other logical men out there who think logically and say, okay, we just do this and this and this, and then that'll help. I also have those tendencies because you like to help, right? But I've learned, I think I'm pretty good at it now overall. I've learned to just chill and just listen until somebody asks me for my advice, input, whatever. Okay. Another pro: understand people on a deeper level. Yes, that's kind of hard to explain, except to say that you can see a person beyond what they're telling. Sometimes, you can just read their body language, or sometimes because I've been places and because I am so empathetic and tuned in, the person doesn't have to say anything, and I know exactly what they're thinking, exactly what they're saying. And it's times when we're on the phone and I can do that. So that's pretty amazing. Um, other pros: natural healer. Yep, yep, that's definitely me. Not that I do the healing per se. I bring care. You know what I mean? Like if you have somebody, fell down and hurt their knee. You know what I mean? Your knee's bleeding, wash that tank up and put a bandage on it, right? So I do that for people, emotionally. I'm good at that. And I'm good at that because it's really legit. It's not I'm putting on the act or putting on the cape or nothing. It's just who I am. I'm touched, with other people's, feelings and stuff, the emotions. It just is what it is. Uh Definitely pick up on vibes in a room. I could read a room, you know. That's for the good and the bad, right? I could be in a room and I could tell who wants to be in charge. I could tell who wants to be seen and heard. Uh, I could tell who may be brilliant, but just holding it in, just not saying nothing, or they're just fearful of saying something, right? Uh, so anyway, so those are some pros. Here are some cons to being an empath. Okay, one is mental strain of taking on others' emotions. So when it says mental strain of taking on others' emotions, it's not that that's killing me to, take on people's emotions. It's just that, after a while, you have to get into a place where you can build yourself back up because you are giving out, a whole lot of compassion, uh, a lot of heart, a lot of great vibes, to someone. And, so it's like anything else, it's deposits in return. So if you got something in you, then you give what you have. You can't give what you don't have. So if I already have peace, if I already have joy on the inside and I'm doing really good, or even if I'm not doing that great, but this person is pulling on me, then all of a sudden I'm not tripping off myself no more or what I'm thinking or what I'm going through. I'm actually invested now into this other person, which changes the whole narrative and doesn't make me think about myself at all. Therefore, I'm able to be there for someone. But again, it takes its toll. It until well, yeah, it takes its toll, but again, not in a bad judgmental way. It takes its toll in that it's no different than pouring out a pitcher of water. You're gonna have to put some more water in, before you can pour out again. Okay. And that state of emptiness, if you will, that's what happens when, as an example or a analogy, to how one feels on the inside when they're an empath. You risk burnout without boundaries. Uh, that's not a problem that I've had that I can think of, because I am much better now at holding boundaries than I used to be. And and I'm blessed. I'm a pretty busy person. A lot of other people are busy too these days. So folk ain't got time to talk to you all the time anyway about this stuff. But one thing's for sure, I think my people know that I'm here, and that's a good thing. And I know they'll continue to do that. Another con, highly sensitive. Okay. I can misunderstand or take something too seriously that isn't meant to be serious. Okay. That is definitely true. That is definitely true. Uh, I've had times where those close to me, I have hurt my feelings because they said something or joked about something. I thought they were serious. Uh, Especially if it's somebody again that I really respect. Now, if I know you joking, I'm here for these jokes. You know what I mean? I can laugh at myself. I enjoy laughing at myself. Uh, but yeah, I could be sensitive for sure. I remember my boss years ago. I was working at a payroll company, and my boss and I were having a meeting, and he had this observation. He said, "Man, you the coolest guy in the world, but when it comes to your work, if somebody try to act like you didn't do a good job or not necessarily question what you did, but question your integrity or something like that, like you really get an attitude." Like he liked that about me, because he knew I was still teachable. But yeah, I was like, yeah, when I do something, I'm pretty serious about it. And yeah, I always like to say, it's not like I have to get credit for stuff. You know what I mean? People don't have to give me credit, but don't try to take my credit. You know what I mean? You ain't got to shine on me, but don't take my shine. Because if you try to take my shine, then I'm gonna be like, yo, hold tight. You know what I'm saying? Uh, no, this stuff didn't just happen by happenstance. There was effort and organization put into this thing. that you happen to enjoy. So, uh, yeah, so yeah, I can be highly sensitive. But again, the more you're self-aware, the less, you kind of think your way out of some of that stuff, right? Here's a really big con being an empath. This one probably make you laugh. It makes me laugh. It's that you could be a sucker to people who know what to say and what to do to appease me. In other words, uh, like somebody could do something and they know they was wrong, they know they messed up, and they know what to say. So I'll just be 100% about it. I've been in relationships where one in particular that I could think of where, the sister was like, she was kind of harsh with her words a lot, all the time, and didn't really have a whole lot of, respect. And I remember having this conversation with her. I remember saying, because her thing to me would be like, I just can't help myself. I talk the way I talk, you know. And I said, let me ask you a question. And she said, what? I said, do you get mad at your boss sometimes? She said, yeah. I said, do you cuss your boss out? She said, no. I said, why is that? The reason why that is because there's a paycheck at the end of this thing. So somehow, in some way, you withhold certain things. You know what I mean? You temper yourself somewhat, you know, so you don't go off and cuss your boss out. So my question to you is, how much do I need to pay you to show me some respect? How much does it cost? And if you wonder what she said, she didn't say anything because it wasn't nothing she could say. So, so, but, I almost lost my train of thought thinking about this story. But she was also the kind of person that knew what to say. So if she said some fucked up shit, she would know how to say, how to parse her words to make me feel like she understood why she was wrong and was able to articulate to me so that I thought she had a real understanding as to why what she said or did was fucked up. And that gave me reason to believe that her understanding of the thing would assure that it didn't happen again. Right. So, but it did. Thus, thus the present. Anyway. So anyway, but so yeah, so empaths can be suckers. That's the truth. And we have to really be on guard for that. And so that's cool. One thing though, you get with age and experience, you're not so much of a sucker as much as you used to be. But yo, it ain't no shame. You know what I'm saying? You live and learn. Ain't no shame. I don't know nobody that ain't been a sucker once or twice in their lifetime. Everybody plays the fool sometimes. There's no exception to the rule. See what I'm saying? Anyway. Uh Yo, so anyway, miscellaneous. Miscellaneous. Oh yeah, miscellaneous is yeah, being an empath. It can be exhausting because you're always thinking of stuff. Uh and one funny thing that I read about being an empath, and this is so true. This is so true. I prefer taking my own car places so that I can leave when I please. That is so true. There are times when my football crew is six of us. And well, we haven't had any long trips since it was six of us. When it was five of us, we've gone out of town before, maybe an hour or two away. And there's been times where we've all rode in the same car. But most of the time, I see y'all over there. Because unlike what our Queso One founder Shantae Young and her husband Cornell Young think, I am an introvert. I have extrovert tendencies in that I can get along with people and I can open up and be cool with people. but I kind of like I get my empathetic powers and whatnot, my superpowers. I get them from being alone, from being quiet, uh, from being in my own head and in my own space. So she's still gonna argue with me about this, but anyway, she know. She just refused to accept it. Anyway, uh yeah, and sometimes empaths can get down just like seemingly for no reason. But I think too that it's really not no reason. Sometimes the issue is like what's going on in the world, right? Doesn't have to affect me like directly personally, immediately, but again, I'm a nerd, so I'm a news junkie. And sometimes, the news you get is just so bad, it's so ominous, so discouraging. Uh, One of the things that's discouraging to me is how, just uncurious, people can be. Uh, I never want people to quote unquote agree with me, but I hate when people don't think things out. They're just so used to are so willing to take the simplest, most easiest, most laziest path to a thing, to a thought, to a summation. So that gets me. And so, so all those things, like, so there are times when I have to, hey, I got to get up off the news, right? I have to listen to some music because that builds me back up. Because all those things, and then you take on your work schedule, exhaustion. I work every day, basketball every day. It's that time of basketball. So I think in January I will have 3 days. I will have not worked basketball game in the month of January. 3 days. So I mean, get me wrong too, man. Out here in these Ohio streets, it's cloudy every day. Seems like since the new year started, cloudy, rainy, just all that stuff, right? All that stuff can make an empath feel bad. Matter of fact, you don't even have to be an empath and those kind of things to get to you. But I'm just talking about me specifically because I believe it's going to help somebody else too, because you have to know yourself, blah, 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 right? So everybody's not an empath. So like my sister, Darcel, she's not an empath. She's empathetic, but she's not an empath. Uh, I know you're like, what's the difference? Well, I think empath by nature. So Darcel is purposely empathetic, right? So she's a therapist, and so she talks to people. So she goes into it with the mindset of being empathetic. Uh, Sometimes with empathic people, though, we can also be sentimental. Okay. So give you an example. My daddy been dead since 1998. And every now and then I'll go over to Fairview Heights, Illinois, and I'll, go in there and look at his his headstone or what have you. Uh, I may say a couple words or whatever if I'm feeling like that. And and usually I'll get some out of it. I can tell you there's yet to been a time when I went there where I didn't cry. Like not one time. Even when I like totally don't expect to. It just happens. But anyway, so I'll do that. My sister, she'd be like, he's not there. I'm not going. We often joke with our mom. We ask our mom, stuff like years ago, we asked like, Mom, so, if you pass before we do, how do you want us to deal with your stuff? Mom lives in California, so she got a lot of stuff. What do you want us to do with all your stuff? How do you want to be buried? Where do you want to be buried? Blah, blah, blah. And, she'll say, Mom's like, well, whatever you guys decide to do is fine. She just would not make the decision. So me and Darcel will have to make the decision if that's what ends up happening. And so when it comes to mom's stuff, it's funny because Darcel, again, it may be a few things she wants, but she's just totally not sentimental. So, but me, on the other hand, So Darcella would be like, for instance, okay, so I guess we can give this couch away or whatever, and I'll be like, well, I ain't getting rid of that couch. That's my mama's couch. Which is so true. I can't even hate. I can't even hate. Uh, but hopefully, if that time comes, I won't be that bad, right? But yeah, I am a sentimental guy. I'm the picture guy, right? I'm the guy with all the pictures in the family. I'm sure that in my immediate family, I have more pictures than anybody. Not on your phone pictures. I'm talking about straight photos taken back from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and some of the early 90s, and those pictures mean everything to me. They're like a legacy. Uh, and right now, I'm even trying to figure out, okay, so who do I give these pictures to? So when I leave here, who do I give these pictures to? Because it means something. Now, to my sister, she'll look at them and be like, oh, that's nice. Oh, I remember that. But if I gave her them pictures, they'd be thrown up in the corner somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Just so it's not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? No, neither one of us are right or wrong. It just is what it is what your preference is. And the thing is no matter what, you don't have to be an asshole. So my sister's not an asshole. She's not, she teases me and we laugh about my sentimentality. But and I tease her obviously as I'm doing now about how her not having a sentimental bone in her body uh just isn't really true. I think the older she gets, she's getting a little more softer in her. Anyway, I think we probably have a little more in common than we think. Anyway, so before we go on, we're gonna go ahead and continue this in just a moment. But before that, we want to tell you about Queso What and you know, sell some of these quesos. So what's up?
Oh, that's a little bit too black. I don't think it's supposed to look like that, but it might taste good.
Are you tired of burning your quesadillas?
Yeah.
Are you tired of those soggy quesadillas that you get from those expensive restaurants?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I have the perfect solution for you. Queso what?
Queso who?
Queso what?
Queso who?
Queso what? Did somebody say queso what? Queso what sells gourmet quesadillas made to order for you.
Well, what kind of quesadillas do you have?
I'm glad you asked, buddy, with the burnt quesadilla. Queso what has options such as Queso Caribbean, Queso C, Queso Philly, Queso Buffalo, and many more delicious options to choose from.
Well, what's in the queso Caribbean?
I'm glad you asked. The Queso Caribbean has marinated oxtails topped with onions, peppers, and topped with 5 kinds of cheeses.
Whoa! I've never heard of such a thing.
I know, it's exclusive. Here, try the Queso Cajun.
Oh my goodness! Whoa.
It's better than that burnt one.
Let me see. Whoa!
How is it?
I failed Spanish twice, but I remember one word. Delicioso!
Queso what?
Well, thank you, Queso What, man.
No problem. No more burning quesadillas, bud. Just order some queso what? I'm coming.
Queso who?
Queso what?
Queso who?
Queso what?
All right, we're back with you. Yeah, that's case but and I have to laugh. Shout out to Cornell, David and Travion. Yo, Travion, yo, you did like a little buckwheat thing at the end. That was the one that was eating the queso. He was like, It's kind of like, oh, Tay. That was pretty good. That I didn't notice it the first time I saw that video. But anyway, getting back to our subject at hand. All right. So this is why. So when you talk about, whether you're an empath or what have you, this is why, no matter what you are or, what kind of personality you have to know yourself. Like you always hear, like you have to know yourself before, uh, like they say, you got to love yourself. You can love somebody else. I used to didn't understand what that meant, but now I do. Uh, and you also have to know yourself. And by know yourself, I don't mean, I like cars, I like jewelry, I like Gucci, I like Ferragamo, I like seafoods and steaks. No, no, I mean like know yourself, like what makes you tick, right? What your core values are, what ticks you off, right? What brings you joy? What brings you peace, right? So this I talk about it all the time, how sometimes when I need joy and I need some peace and I find it hard to gather, I'll get into some music. I'll listen to some music. Uh, my spirit would tell me exactly what I need to listen to, and I would dive all the way in, right? So those are some things that I know I need. Sometimes I'll get out and I say, you know what, I'm gonna go treat myself, right? So I may have a game or something, and I'll be like, okay, I got a like hour to kill or whatever. I'm gonna go over to the Mexican spot and have me a frozen margarita and just chill out, right? I don't need to go straight home. Been in the house because I work from home. Been in the house all day, driving back and forth to these schools. Need to break up the monotony. Go treat yourself. All right. So I've treated myself to appetizers, a drink or something. I've done that too. So you got to know yourself, right? You got to know what your childhood traumas are. I'm gonna say it again because we all got them. We all got them. You got to know what your childhood traumas are, unless you grew up in a perfect little house, which I did not, which most of us do not, unless all your relatives were cool, right? Nobody ever molested you. Nobody ever did something really horrible to you. Uh, you were always supported and loved through everything. You never got strung out on drugs, so unless, you had the perfect little house, then you're gonna have some childhood traumas. So I know what mine are. Mine are abandonment and fear of rejection. So I won't get into why, because nobody wants to know that. But those are my two. So I know that those two I always have to. I'm never going to get to a point where that is totally defeated. It is a thing that I have to work with, sit in, because it also ties into my gift as an empath. Because you know, uh, because having abandonment issues and fear of rejection, it helps me. It helps me to reach out with compassion, with empathy, because I know what that feels like. So I don't want other people to feel that way. So that's why it's easier. It's easy for me to do what I need to do because of the things that I feel and things that I go through. Right. Uh, and besides triggers, you got, normally when you come into a situation, right, that's uncomfortable, you're either gonna fight, flight, or freeze, right? So you got to know where you fight, flight, or freeze. Again, I know for me, uh, one of my fights is try to take my shot, you know, uh, say that my contribution wasn't about nothing, that kind of stuff. I'm a fight, right? Flight, if I feel abandoned, if I feel rejected, probably gonna flight. I'm a flight, right? I'm gonna set myself apart. I'm gonna go somewhere, get by myself, and just kind of cocoon myself, right? I kind of mentally cocoon myself. And I may listen to music, I might watch some basketball or something, or just do my own thing, right? So uh, another fight area is like, so if like I could be I could be working, you know, same way I was talking about work, even basketball, right? So I could be refereeing basketball, as a coach or a player can say something to me, and it really depends on how they say it. So if they're asking me a question about a play or what I saw, I'm usually 9 times out of 10, I'm good with that. But if they come snapping on me, yelling at me, especially like if they don't know me, you know what I mean? I ain't never met you in my life, and you feel like because I got these stripes on that you could talk to me any kind of way, or snap at me like I'm not a human being. Well, then that's another fight. That's another fight. You know what I mean? I had a coach come at me the other day, and he thought his player should get a foul, and he ran out on the floor. How come it ain't no foul on that? And I yelled back at him. So I said, because it wasn't no damn foul. Looked him dead in his face, you know, and I was in that moment, right? I was in that moment. He ended up getting the technical. I didn't give him the technical. My partner did. He picked me up. But I wasn't even interested in giving him a technical. My first initial reaction was to get you up off me. Get you up off me. I ain't the one. I'm not, I'm a great guy. I'm not that guy. So I've said that many a times, you know, in games and stuff like that, again, because I take a lot of pride in my job, right? And what I do. So if I'm out there busting my ass and trying to get in position to serve you, to serve these players, you know, then it's just, it's not like you got to like me, but you're not going to be snapping on me and talking to me any kind of way. I will run you straight up. So, freeze. Whew, I'm sure I've frozen at some points in my life. I can't think of any lately, so I won't try. So then the next thing is, you know, so what happens, you know, when you get the blues, these no better blues? Well, first of all, you just have to, sometimes you just got to recognize, just got to recognize it and accept it. So when I was feeling down and I talked to my sister, I was already in a place where I accepted this is what I'm going through. You know, it is what it is. It's okay. It's okay. I can't talk myself out of it. I can't make myself happy. I can't tell myself great things to make these feelings pass from me. It's not going to work that way. There's no magic, snap your finger. You can't pray it off or nothing like that. You just feel the way you feel. It's a season, it's a time, you know, when, you know, there is spring, summer, winter, and fall. And, you know, so when it's springtime, it's gonna do spring things, right? If it's summertime, it's gonna do summer stuff. You like complaining it's hot outside. It's summertime. You know, we ain't finna get no snow, right? Um, so that's just this the way it is, as it is with people, right? So, like your trees, right? Trees, they grow leaves in the spring, bloom in the summer, you know, okay, they turn in the fall and then they fall in the winter. So you can't make them stop. You can't say in the fall, well, don't turn. You know, that's not how it goes. But people think because, you know, of our current culture and stuff of wanting to be super people, wanting to be like we're incredibles or something, as opposed to humans, you know, we're so busy charging forward that we often, you know, don't understand that uh you know, we are sophisticated, complicated beings, you know, and our brains are sophisticated and complicated. And there's still things we're learning about the brain. So it's okay, you know, so you have to recognize it and whatnot. You got to sit in it, sit in it. And that's what I mean by not trying to talk yourself out of it. Now, there will come a time, you know, once you get to practicing this, there'll come a time when you practice sitting in it, there'll come a time when you get to the point where you're like, okay, all right, I've sat in it. And during that time, you know, I give you an example. Uh, Me and my wife, we got into it about something not too long ago. And I remember feeling some type of way about some things she said to me. And, you know, I wasn't going to argue about it, nothing like that, but I felt some type of way. So what I did was I sat in it. And while I sat in it, I mean, I sat there, smoked me a cigar, and I was just curious. I was curious about why I felt the way I feel. You know what I mean? And so I kind of sat in it, and by that I mean I just processed it. I processed it. I looked at it from afar, if you will. I took myself out of it and just kind of looked at it from a face value to say, okay, is this worth me being upset about or not? I'm questioning myself to make sure I'm on point. Do I really have a right, or am I just being sensitive? You know, as an empath can be, right? I sat in it, analyzed it, became curious about it, and then it was cool. I was good because I processed it. And that's what you have to do. You have to process your feelings, process your thoughts, process your emotions. But the difference is you don't ingest them. You process it, but you don't ingest it. So, like, say for instance, if my brain is like a blender, right? You take the stuff, you put it in your brain, these are the situations, and then this blender's going, right? It's not chopping it up. It's not chopping up what I'm feeling. It's just that it's kind of just moving around, and it's, it's like a computer. You reading it, beep, 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 beep. You're reading all of this stuff, examining all these data points and stuff like that, right? The difference is, though, is once I process it, then I can go ahead and let it go. But I process it, I don't ingest it, meaning I'm not going to internalize it. I'm not going to make it a part of me. I'm not going to let it infiltrate my spirit and my soul, right? That's how I deal with it. And in the midst of that, I'm being graceful to myself. I'm being graceful to myself. I'm not hard on myself about it, right? I'm showing myself compassion, right? Because you have to be your number one fan. So you have to show yourself compassion. And so as you practice this method, as I was starting to say before, you'll get to the point where you'll know if you're ingesting. You'll know because your spirit will come back and be like, okay, we processed this. We did this purposefully. We did this intentionally. Now I'm ready to let it go. Because now to carry it any further will be to ingest it instead of processing it. Feel me? So again, if you know that, then you understand that, again, knowledge is not going to make you feel better. You know, uh, like I said, no, I've, you know, gone through things and talked to friends, and I knew, talked to a friend of mine not too long ago, and I knew nothing I could say was going to make them feel better. Nothing. And I told him that. I said, hey, man, ain't nothing I can say that's going to make you feel better. I'm not going to try. I'm just going to listen, and I'm going to give you the right to be human. I'm going to give you the right to mourn, to feel the way you feel because of what, he's going through that I would not share, protect his privacy, of course. But, I told him, hey, man, it's okay. I'm just here to listen, and if you need something from me, let me know. I'm here. Right. So, and also another thing that kind of goes into place too that I really enjoy. This is a hidden gem, is that when I'm down, you know what I mean? When I got them blues, when I'm processing stuff, like when I step outside of it and process it, this is the greatest joy of all. It says they're like mysteries and little pieces of clarity that go in with that because I'm open for the universe just to speak into me and let me see things that I would have not seen before. So if I was happy go lucky, doing my own thing, not being reflective, just living my life as we do, most of the time, I never would have got that. I never would have got those little mysteries, right? But because because I go through this method and this ritual, when I get to a certain point, then I've also gotten the benefits of some really great insights on people, insights on personalities, insights on traumas, uh, things that, again, my regular mind would have never picked up on, never. But I needed to be in that quiet space I needed to be to where I wasn't rushing to get somewhere. I wasn't on my own plan and agenda. I needed to be in that quiet place in order to receive these mysteries. And then I take the mysteries. When I say mysteries, I mean, again, things that I never knew that were mystery to me that never been explained to me. No one's ever said to me. I never read them in a book, but I know them to be true just as sure as I am talking right now. Like I know them to be true. It's not an innuendo. It's not a guess. It's 100% truth. And when I say truth, I don't mean facts. I mean truth. So you got facts is one thing. Truth is a lot deeper than a fact. Truth is beyond facts. It's like through and through. It's it's positionally on point no matter what, no matter where you are, what time, what civilization, what continent, it don't matter. It's the truth. It's universal. It goes for all time. It always was, it always is, it always shall be. Those are some of the things, and those are the most rewarding things. So even though I may be suffering to a degree, I'm also being healed, reinvigorated. I'm also getting more compassionate, more empathetic, more brilliant when it comes to things, people, places, more intuitive, right? Making me a better person, making me more well-rounded, more than I would have been before. So, a couple things I want to share before we wrap up here is I remember driving on 55 one time, and I know I talked about the seasons before. I was on 55 uh in St. Louis, well, on my way to St. Louis. And I remember it was wintertime and it was like super cold, really desolate. And if you know anything about 55, like between, say, Chicago and St. Louis, there's a lot of cornfields and stuff like that. And I just remember I was in a down place. I was really in a down place. And I remember driving and looking out my window and seeing all these cornfields. And it was just snow capped, just snow capped. It was super cold, it was cloudy, miserable. Uh, and I remember just hearing this thing in my heart that said, you know, just like this winter season, you're in a winter season. You're in a winter season, but springtime will come. And when springtime comes, all this snow that you see, it's going to be corn coming up. So just chill. Go through your winter season. It's okay. And I remember just feeling so comforted about that. I remember just having it really got me over. It got me through. Just that feeling, and I don't know if I was listening to something on the radio or if I was just being quiet. I don't know. I remember my son lost his cousin a couple of months ago, and he spoke at his homegoing service, his life celebration. And one of the things he said was that he does for himself is that when something's good happening, or when he has a good trip or has a good time, he says to himself, "Hey, that was a good time." He don't just think it. For him, he says it out loud. This was a good time. I enjoyed this. And it's his way of acknowledging the good so he doesn't get bogged down with the bad. Because they could just, the good stuff, we could just, take it and keep it moving, because we think that's the way it's supposed to be. And then the bad stuff, we tend to really focus on, concentrate on, emphasize, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but in reality, it's a very good balanced thing to acknowledge the good stuff. Like there are times when I'm watching a movie even or hear a song, and I'm telling you, or something can happen within my family, and I say, man, I was glad I was alive to see that. Like really, like this was so good. The last time this happened to me, it's a concerts on YouTube. I don't remember these people's name off the bat, but it was an orchestra with Lettucey and Bilal. Lettucey and Bilal, they're with an orchestra and they're doing Curtis Mayfield tribute. And man, this music to hear these accomplished, some of the best musicians in the world, the most disciplined, and they playing Curtis Mayfield, one of my favorite artists of all time, one of my favorite poets, storytellers, groove masters, you know, man, songwriters. So when they did this, it was so beautiful. It was so good. And the vibe was so on point. It was so mystical, spiritual, and beautiful. I was like, I'm glad I'm alive to see this. Uh, so those are times when I acknowledge that to myself, and I'm like, man, this was great. Like, this is a great moment to be alive. I'm glad I saw this. Uh, so in closing, again, man, we go through stuff. You got to know who you are. Again, I'm just telling you, I'm an empath. If you didn't know already, but each of you are something too, or you may be a combination of things. I'm sure we all a combination of things, but we tend to gravitate one toward one thing or the other, right? Uh, but whatever statement, you just got to roll with it, right? You got to roll with it. How you gonna roll with it? How you gonna roll with it? You gonna roll with them punches, right? Uh, like Ali, you gotta do the rope a dope sometime. Throw a couple punches, slip, go down. Do what you got to do. You got to know your methods. You got to know your tools. Are you a good jabber, uppercut, left hook, whatever your weapon is, right? Whatever your weapon of choice is to get through where you're gonna get through. So anyway, that's it for that. But before we get out of here, I want to share one more thing with you. Uh, so some of you know I went to see my mom over the holidays. Uh, and I booked these tickets probably in April or something like that. And in doing so, one of the reasons why I picked the dates I did is because I wanted to go see a musician, a particular musician. And this guy, his name was Sherwood Sledge. Uh, he's been a master vocalist for many decades. He sang with the likes of Billy Eckstine, Nat King Cole, did a record with Quincy Jones, a whole lot of different groups, jazz, gospel, blues. I mean, he's done it all. And it just so happens that he sings at this church. I believe it's called Third Church of Los Angeles in Leimert Park. And he did sing there every fourth Sunday. So I got my tickets for the fourth Sunday. And I'm like, yeah, mama, I want to go see Sherwood. Because Sherwood, again, he was the choir director at my mom's church, Fame, First AME, and a very good friend of hers. And so they would, always go out, uh, you know, see him play, her and my dad, my bonus dad. They'd always go out, see him play, take him everywhere, all the different places, Napa Valley, just wherever, to perform and sing. And they'd go over his house all the time, have dinner, and she would tell me about these beautiful, beautiful moments where he would get on the piano and sing, or they all would sing. Uh, and she always told me about these great, great times. So I always wanted to meet him. Now I've seen him before because he was her choir director, and I've gone to the church and seen him, back in that time. But I never got to meet him. So I said, okay, I want to go see Sherwood. So, you know, Christmas Eve came around, and the night before I was going to go to a cigar bar with my man Emil in Lanier. Shout out DJ Severe. Uh, and my mom was like, all right, now, so make sure you're ready for church tomorrow, because I wouldn't be coming if you wasn't going, I'll just lay in because it's Christmas Eve. And so I was like, oh, okay, no problem, no problem. So, Sunday morning come around bright and early, I'm ready. I'm going to see Sherwood. We going to see Sherwood, which is funny because normally if my mama said something like that, she wasn't trying to feel going to church. I'd be like, oh, don't worry about it, mom. We ain't got to go. We can just rest, get up, listen to us some gospel music or something, and have us some breakfast and do our thing, because we like to talk and stuff like that. But this time I was like, no, I want to go see Sherwood because you know what? You never know. I said to myself, you never know. He might not be here the next time I come. So I went to see Sherwood sing, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful service. They had a whole Kwanzaa thing with little kids. It was like a play. There was a storyteller. It was great. But I got to meet Sherwood, who was definitely, had definitely seen his better days, physically. He had a walker. Uh, He could hardly move, but man, which I didn't know this, by the way, but he had a walker and everything, and I didn't know what kind of condition he had been in. I hadn't seen him probably in 25 years. So, but like I said, he was really old and slow, but he sounds just wonderfully. And I just remember thinking, man, how beautiful he is. I mean, man, he sounds great. Like he does some stuff with his voice, man, that's just amazing and touching. It really touches you. He know how to use his words and phrases. He knows how to pause, when to stop, when to emphasize something. Like he really is a great artist. So went to see him, got to shake his hand, take some pictures with him. Bought a CD out of his little bag that he carries, and it was just great. It was great. So went to see him, had a good time, came back home, and man, that same week I get a call. I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday or something after New Year's. Mom said Sherwood had passed, and I was actually in the bed when she told me, and I was really sleepy. But when she told me, I couldn't even go to sleep. I was just like dumbfounded. And I guess I just so was not expecting it, you know, especially that soon. But then it came back to me that, man, I purposely went to see this guy, and he remained here until I saw him. And in addition, so I thought that was really special. And then the other part, as I thought, was if I didn't go see him, I would have really, I don't know that I could have forgiven myself. I honestly believe it would have been a thorn to me for the rest of my life had I not taken the time to go see this man. And I don't know why. I think it was really because my mother and Bona's dad, I think that they loved him so much that I just wanted to see him. They talked about him so much that I was like, he's brought you guys so much joy, and you guys love each other so much that I want to meet this guy. I want to hear him do his thing. You know, uh, and so I'm just really glad I did it. And so, they had his service yesterday as we're recording this 131 2024. They had his service yesterday at First AME Church, where he was a member for 40 years. He was choir director for many years. And it seemed to me that more than likely I got to see his very last performance. And I might have been the last person to buy a CD from him, from him personally. So I feel very honored with that. But I wanted to share something with you guys. I was watching his homegoing service today, and they got to this part where they did this video presentation. And it was him singing his favorite song to sing, which is called Everything Must Change. Everything Must Change. And so during the service, they did a little cut out of the program where they did a video of different places and different people Sherwood have sang with the song of him singing Everything Must Change at the end of it. I'm sorry, during it. So uh so thanks for staying with me this long, but I'm gonna play this as this show ends. I'm just gonna end this show with a tribute that First AME put together, or whoever put together the video. I'm gonna end this to a great entertainer, a great man who became an ancestor, who I'm really proud to have met. I'm really glad my mom, that we all went, because I know she feels the same way, that she was glad she got to see him, in his last performance. And, most of all, what I take away from that is, like I always say, man, no days are guaranteed, no times are guaranteed. You have to really, uh, appreciate and love those who, are important to you, and let them know, and be there for them. So anyway, thanks again for staying with us. We got some good stuff coming up. I got some interviews set up with some awesome Black women, as promised earlier, and also got a couple other things with some brothers that I'm going to be doing, that we're going to be doing, that we're really excited about too. So anyway, hey, thanks. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Comment if you like, and hey, stay safe out there. Again, I'm going to leave you with this video of Mr. Sherwood Sledge. Let's pull it up. There we go. I think we got it now. Or do we? Forgive me, you know I'm my own producer. so, so hold on. We're gonna do this again. Let's try this again. One more again. All right, here we go.
Nothing stays the same. Everyone will change. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. The young becomes the old, and mysteries do unfold. 'Cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life we can be sure of, except the rain comes from the clouds and the sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do turns to spring. A wounded heart will heal, but never much too soon. Yes, everything must change. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold. 'Cause that's the except the rain comes from the clouds and the sunlight